Get out. Oh, do I have a buyer in the house? Thank you so much.
When he was just 12 in 1962, our guest bought Amazing Fantasy number 15, featuring Spider-Man's first appearance. He liked Disney comics and comedy, not superheroes, until Spider-Man came out.
I am getting goosebumps, that experience of buying this comic right off the newsstand.
Spider-Man, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, debuted in August 1962. The character was relatable to our guest, a teen with real-life problems like money issues and bullying. At the time, comic trends focused on romance, western, and sci-fi. Amazing Fantasy number 15 was a departure from those genres and focused on superheroes. Publisher Martin Goodman was hesitant, but Spider-Man became a massive success. This comic paved the way for Amazing Spider-Man number 1 in March 1963. Approximately 250,000 copies of Amazing Fantasy number 15 were printed. These comics were meant to be read and tossed, not collected. Despite its condition, it could fetch
$18,000 to $22,000.
Get out. Oh, do I have a buyer in the house? Thank you so much.
Meet this exquisite timepiece, once lost and now found during a home cleanup. It belonged to the guest's husband's World War I veteran grandfather, who likely acquired it during his post-war European tour. Crafted by Patek Philippe, the epitome of watch craftsmanship, between 1915 and 1918, this is a true vintage gem. Its early luminescent dial remains untouched. An 18-karat yellow-gold case adds to its allure. Originally designed as a man's wristwatch, it sets the trend with its distinctive luminescent dial. Handmade with precision, a masterpiece of its time, only a handful was produced each day, making it exclusive. In pristine condition, serving as proof of its rarity, featuring the original sterling silver dial with embossed enamel. The preserved crystal adds to its authenticity. Once, it glowed in the dark, a marvel of its era. Today, a collector's dream worth
about a $40,000 to $50,000 watch retail.
Okay.
And very collectible and very desirable.
Okay. Awesome.
These big cat figures are a whimsical delight for feline fanatics and ceramics collectors alike. Our guest inherited them from her aunt, who acquired them while in London in the mid-1970s. The cats are depictions of cheetahs and originated from France. They are covered in bright glazes. At the bottom of the items, there is a ceramic pillow on which they are placed, a common Mediterranean practice. Although there is some flaking observable on the glazing, it isn't much. Upon observing the heads of these feline figures, they bare their teeth and have an aggressive look.
Then perhaps new ones like this would be. I think that decorative arts have gotten more commercial and more pretty.
Interestingly, few of these figures were produced, and age makes each piece valuable for collectors. Even though the pieces have slight wear, at auction, they would still be valued at
would be in the $4,000 to $6,000 range for the pair. This is fairly conservative.
Well,
In 1977, the guest was 4 years old when he discovered Star Wars, the perfect age for a galaxy far, far away to captivate young minds. He grew up with Star Wars and left grammar school when the third film was released. His mom then gave him a Star Wars set. In the 80s, they found a $40 Star Wars figure set at a mall, hesitated due to the price. Later, his mom bought it knowing his interest. Collection includes figures from the original trilogy, which was released between 1977 and 1983. The early bird certificate package and the 4-figure package date back to 1977 to 78. This set remains unopened, making it a pristine and valuable collectible. In 1984 to 85, Kenner introduced coins with figures to boost sales, posing a challenge for collectors to obtain them all. At age 12, the guest wrote a letter to Kenner. Excitingly, Kenner responded, offering the full coin set for $25. The coin set, issued after the last movie, is now highly valuable, fetching
$1,000 and $2,000 as a set.
An intact and rare early bird certificate package could fetch
Would be $6,000 to $9,000.
Wow.
Conservatively, this set could be auctioned for
Estimated $10,000 to $15,000.
That's amazing.
So
For insurance purposes, the entire collection could be valued between $25,000 and $30,000. These porcelain pieces, a colorful turtle and frog, belonged to the guest's grandmother and were given to the guest by their father. Our guest has fond memories of these pieces from her grandmother's mantle. Both pieces were made by Union Porcelain Works in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, New York, around 1879. These pieces are early examples of American porcelain, featuring polychrome decoration.
One of the people most responsible for creating these pieces.
The sculptor responsible for creating these pieces was Karl Mueller, a German-trained sculptor. Each figure leans on a pitcher plant, a unique feature possibly inspired by local flora around Union Porcelain Works. The bottom of the pieces is marked UPW for Union Porcelain Works, with a turtle having a more elaborate mark stating Union Porcelain Works, Greenpoint, New York. The appraiser values Mr. Frog at
Mr. Frog would probably bring somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500. The turtle, more, maybe in the $1,200 to $1,500 to $2,000 range.
Wow.
You still like them?
I love them.
The guest brought a wall map given to his father-in-law by a colleague in the 1960s. The map was published in 1846 by S. Augustus Mitchell. The appraiser pointed out that it was printed on paper, mounted on linen, and attached to rollers. The item showed some wear and flaking, but was still in relatively good condition. The appraiser mentioned that the map's true value depended on its historical context. The particular map, highly detailed, is used in political offices, county offices, and businesses. The appraiser compared this Mitchell map with earlier editions, highlighting significant changes.
So that's when she was in school, and probably in New England. Now, sometimes people look at these and say, oh, look at these bright colors. Did you take a magic marker to write on this map?
The map's significance and timing made it a prime example of American cartography. Based on its historical importance, the suggested value was
$1,500 and $1,800.
Great. Nice to know.
This unassuming brick carries a monumental piece of history from the dawn of the nuclear age. The brick originates from the first reactors ever built, designed during the Manhattan Project by scientists, including Enrico Fermi. Fermi was an Italian and later naturalized American physicist, renowned for being the creator of the world's first nuclear reactor. Known as Chicago Pile 1, this first ever reactor marked a pivotal moment that led to the development of the atomic bomb.
Basically a tall cube shape, 57 layers of approximately 45,000 of these bricks.
Constructed from approximately 45,000 high-quality graphite bricks, of which this particular brick is a part, it was a simple yet groundbreaking design. Lacking any shielding, the reactor relied on manual intervention with cadmium salts for safety. A significant artifact of nuclear history, this historical brick is rare, with small pieces of it at auction valued at
Easily $16,000 to $20,000. And given that you have an entire brick, I would go more towards the high end of that estimate.
Carved with the essence of Nigerian heritage, this early 20th century Benin tourist chest captures the grandeur of traditional craftsmanship. Interestingly, this chest originates from the Benin area and features prominent carvings of Nigerian kings, with smaller figures representing their attendants. The carvings often depict scenes of everyday life and historical events, making it not just a storage piece, but a storytelling artifact. It was commissioned by colonials and crafted by African carvers, showcasing their rich cultural symbols and artistry, and at auction would fetch
worth $400 to $600.
Okay.
The guest purchased a clock at an estate sale in Austin 10 years ago for $600. The appraiser praised the clock's massive, impressive Gothic style. The clock's size suggested it likely would have been displayed in a public office like a bank. The incredible piece was made by an English bracket clock from the last quarter of the 19th century. The clock featured a 3-train movement striking every 15 minutes. Additionally, it played the Westminster chime with 3 winding arbors.
One runs the time, one powers the strike, which is the hour on the hour, and the other one powers the Westminster chime.
Notably, the piece also had a chime silent indicator to mute the sound. The appraiser identified the retailer as W. Hislop of London and Tunbridge Wells, though the actual maker remained unknown. Furthermore, the clock had an oak case with a wonderful presence. Given its condition, the suggested retail value was...
It's a clock that, in a retail situation, would sell in the $2,000 to $2,500 range today. Wow.
A music box evokes nostalgic feelings and memories of loved ones. Upon examination of the music box presented by the guest, the appraiser embarked on a detailed analysis, unveiling its rich history and exceptional craftsmanship. Dating back to around 1880 to 1900, this special music box caught the eye with its beautiful exterior. It had fancy wood and pretty designs carved into it, showing how skilled the people who made it were back then. What made this music box even more special were the things inside it. Unlike others like it, it had extra parts for making drum sounds, bells, and castanets. These were fancy and not common in most music boxes of that time. Also, the appraiser was amazed at how well it was kept. They said the part inside that makes the sounds was in great shape. All of these things together made it worth a lot of money. After a thorough examination of the box, the appraiser said,
If this were to come to auction, we'd give an auction estimate of $2,000 to $4,000.
Wow. Okay.
The guest shared an interesting story behind this family heirloom she brought to the show. It's a coffee pot with variations in temperature and a wonderful gooseneck spout. This is a great example of Pennsylvania Dutch tinware using a technique known as toll.
And this is a European tradition of painting on tin and wood in this sort of whimsical folk manner. And this would have happened throughout the Pennsylvania Dutch region.
The painters of these pieces are mostly anonymous and use the colors they had on hand.
Black is the most common in terms of the base color. So when we get examples of this really bright, vibrant red, we get excited.
Oh.
Although the finial at the top has been dented a bit, it still has a solid, round, symmetrical base. Aside from this, there are no in-paintings, repairs, or multiple layers of varnish that would diminish its value. This coffee pot dates back to the 1860s to 1890s. Such a beautiful piece of Pennsylvania tinware with even paint and a gooseneck spout in today's market would sell for...
We'd be looking at around $7,000 to $9,000 at auction. No. This is...
On today's show, we have a tabernacle door featuring pelicans on the front. The guest received this as a Christmas gift from her parents.
What drew you to it in the first place?
Just the ornateness, and I'm Catholic as well, and so the tabernacle and the church and all that, and then also the pelicans.
The item has a Christian history and comes in different shapes and sizes.
You know what the story of the pelican is?
I did a little research on that, and apparently when mom pelicans cannot feed their babies, they will pierce their breast and feed them blood, which represents the body and blood of Christ.
These doors were very popular in the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries in Italy, Europe, and France. Over time, the structures became more simplified, featuring beautiful architectural framing as well as columns and an intricate egg and dart border adorned with spiral designs and beads. This particular item dates back to the late 18th to early 19th century, with its pine and other woods showing some parts that have been replaced and missing columns. In a retail setting, this tabernacle door with architectural framing and spiral design would cost
$1,000 to $1,500 would be a suitable asking price.
I used to watch Roadshow with my grandmother growing up, drinking tea, watch the Antiques Roadshow, and so I was so super excited to come.
This Makundi initiation mask, called Lipico, was found at a yard sale for $35. The mask originates from Tanzania and Mozambique. It's used in initiation ceremonies for young boys and girls. The mask features elaborate scarification typical of the late 19th to early 20th century. Scarification is created by cutting and dyeing the skin. The mask also includes human hair, which is symbolic in the Makundi culture. It has been used in ceremonies to scare women and children and...
During the initiation of boys, it's danced, and during the ceremony, the dancer reveals his identity to the young boy.
Authenticity is determined by stylistic elements and wear patterns. This mask shows some wear, indicating potential ceremonial use. The appraiser estimates its value to be at...
This piece is worth $500 to $700.
Oh, that's great.
Is that higher than 35?
Oh, yes, that's really great.
This item is a painting of Miller Wayland, the owner's great-great-great-grandfather, who claimed to have the longest beard in the world. The painting has been a family heirloom passed down through generations. It dates back to 1901 and was created by Alden P. Sawyer, a likely local artist. Miller Wayland had a booth at the 1904 World's Fair where he showcased his long beard. The painting is on a commercially available canvas, suggesting it was prepared for public display. World's Fairs were major events with millions of visitors and notable attendees like...
I think Teddy Roosevelt, Helen Keller, Geronimo was there, John Philip Sousa. Part of it was educational.
The 1904 St. Louis Fair, commemorating the 1803 Louisiana Purchase, featured various exhibits and...
I think the St. Louis Fair had about 19 million visitors. Famous people came. You had
Miller Wayland's booth likely featured on the Pike, an area with oddball and entertainment exhibits. This painting has a strong folk art appeal, reminiscent of circus sideshow posters. The appraiser valued this amazing and rare painting at...
All that said, I think realistically, at auction, we're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 item.
Cool.
It's really cool. I appreciate you bringing it in.
Cool, yeah, absolutely.
This 18th century teapot was made by the renowned silversmith Paul Revere. It features a classical design with tassels, swags, and a pineapple finial symbolizing hospitality. The teapot's wooden handle prevents burns while serving hot tea. American silver teapots, like this one, are more valuable than their English counterparts. Paul Revere teapots have been known to sell for over $120,000. We also have an American coffee pot by Meyer Myers, a Jewish silversmith from New York. This coffee pot, dating from 1716 to 1717, has a typical pear-shaped form with grooved borders and...
with a quadrooned border, as well as some molded shell accents, which were very typical designs of the 18th century.
Additionally, we have an English coffee pot by Paul de Lamery from 1738, featuring his hallmark style and a value of...
Other coffee pots by Paul de Lamery have sold for around $25,000 when they've come for auction.
Our guest brought in 3 baseball cards featuring Gil Hodges, Jim Rhodes, and Mickey Mantle. He obtained them as a child when his mother bought Stahlmeyer hot dogs, which had those cards on the back. These cards were produced from 1953 to 1955 and featured players from the Yankees, Giants, and Dodgers. Stahlmeyer was a major supplier of hot dogs to ballparks in the 1950s, and...
In the 50s, New York was the epicenter of Major League Baseball.
These cards are rare due to their regional distribution and the condition issues caused by their packaging. The appraiser explained that cards are graded on a scale of 1 to 10, with condition factors such as wear and uneven margins affecting the grade. Gil Hodges and Jim Rhodes cards are estimated at...
Each one of them of $200 to $400, okay?
The Mickey Mantle card is highly valuable due to Mantle's status as the most collected post-war baseball player and the rarity of the card. Only about 20 of these Mantle cards are known to exist, and it is estimated to be worth...
An estimate of $5,000 to $7,000 on the Mantle.
Something else, wow.
You might think beer isn't anything special and can be taken with just any kind of cup. But that's not the view Germans had back in the day, as they used special mugs called beer steins. This particular German stein was made circa 1907 and can be ascertained by the number on the underside. A decorative and collectible item made using ceramics, it is a large 3-liter stein created by the Villeroy and Bosch Company in Mettlach, Germany. The designs on the stein are well made with accompanying German text.
First of all, there's this crazy line which has something to do with the good man having to be praised 3 times and yet scolded 9 times.
Although these steins are less collected now, they're still a window to the merriment of German taverns and would be worth...
So in this condition, maybe $200 or $300.
That's nice to know. You told me a lot more than I knew before.
The guest revealed that this map belonged to her late husband, who stumbled upon it in a house in London during renovations in the late 1950s or early 1960s. Wrapped within an old newspaper and concealed in a compartment near a fireplace, The map was carefully unwrapped and subsequently cherished throughout their marriage. Upon examination, the appraiser marveled at the craftsmanship of the piece. A map of the world with the latest discoveries by Jane Young, dated 1791. The hand-done needlework showcased intricate detail, portraying a British perspective of the world circa 1740. The appraiser speculated that the embroiderer may have utilized various maps as references, reflecting different time periods. Discussing the history of geography embroidery, the appraiser explained its rise in popularity among affluent young women in England around 1770.
And it became all the rage. It was very fashionable for young women who were well-to-do to study geography through embroidery.
Typically used for maps of England, this particular world map stood out for its exceptional quality, hinting at its possible role as a model for other maps.
It's the nicest quality embroidery I've ever seen on a sampler. And that makes me think that it was a sampler that was maybe what we would call the mother map, or the sample map that would have been used to make other maps.
Given its rarity and the scarcity of comparable items in auction records, the appraiser estimated its value in a retail setting to be between,
I would put a value on it in a retail setting between $7,500 and $8,500.
Oh.
This exquisite, large, ornate bowl with Chinese motifs caught the guest's attention during her visit to a local auction gallery in Springfield, Illinois. Despite her admiration for it, her husband expressed reservations due to its size. However, fate intervened as it turned out to be the last item up for auction. With no competition, they secured the bowl for a mere $35 around 9 or 10 years ago. The appraiser identified the piece as likely from the mid to late 19th century, boasting quintessential Chinese aesthetics with intricate dragon and peony flower designs adorning its surface. The appraiser noted its value, estimating that in today's market, such a piece could fetch,
and nowadays, a piece like this would probably sell in the neighborhood between $6,000 to $8,000.
During a casual shopping trip in Spokane, Washington, the guest stumbled upon a hidden gem, an intriguing map tucked away in the depths of a thrift store. Drawn to its depiction of California as an island, a feature she hadn't encountered before, she felt drawn to its uniqueness and vibrant colors. Acting on impulse, she purchased it for a mere $13, despite her husband's initial skepticism about its authenticity. Upon closer inspection at home, they discovered that the map was printed on genuine paper, prompting them to return to the store to acquire its companions. Subsequent investigation revealed fascinating details about the map's origins. The one depicting the Americas credited to the cartographer Shogin, possibly dating back to a 1671 atlas, while the other attributed to Ortelius, potentially originating from the late 16th century. The appraiser, impressed by the guest's keen eye for quality, provided insights into authenticating the maps, highlighting telltale signs such as plate marks and centerfolds. Confirming their originality, the appraiser acknowledged the later addition of color, which, though not original, contributed to their value. Despite minor imperfections, the appraiser estimated the value of the maps to be,
in a retail environment, this map in this condition, which does have problems, is probably worth about $1,200. And assuming it's in that same condition, it's probably worth about maybe $5,500 to $6,000.
Wow.
Our guest brought in a clock that they bought at a community garage sale for $15. They've always called it a sundial clock, but couldn't find any information online about it. The appraiser explained that the clock is actually a mystery clock, not a sundial clock. It works by winding the clock mechanism inside the marble pedestal.
A magnet that underneath the frog, which has a little piece of iron, follows.
This type of clock is known as a water clock, which
originally the time would have been indicated by a tortoise, and the tortoise would have to be made of cork so it could float on top of the water.
The tortoise was replaced with a porcelain frog, adding a unique charm to the piece. This clock was retailed by Goublin Lucerne, a high-end Swiss jeweler, around 1900. It features a high-quality jeweled movement designed to run for 8 days on a single wind. The case is made of marble with brass fittings, and the dial is solid silver with a gilt wash. The clock, in its present condition, has an estimated retail value of...
Would probably have a retail value of somewhere in the $5,500 price range to about $6,000.
Wow, that's great. Woo.
We are presented with a lithograph, an artwork attributed to Salvador Dali, a Spanish surrealist artist known for his technical skill and the striking and bizarre images in his work. The guest found this item in his parents' garage, tucked away behind a bunch of boxes. This lithograph is titled Drawers of Memory, based on an earlier sculpture and a painting. One of Dali's largest lithographs, and it was published by Sidney Lucas in the mid-1960s.
Only 150 of these were made, so it's fairly scarce from 1965.
Despite being buckled a little at the edges, this item is still in great condition. Also, there are many forgeries of this artist's work, which raises a lot of red flags, but this is surely genuine.
Toward the end of his career, publishers making copies of his work, putting signatures on.
This lithograph, featuring a combination of Greek sculpture and a German collection painting, would be valued at...
I would put a replacement value on this at $30,000.
Are you kidding me?
Our guest purchased this antique candlestick from a friend's shop in Galveston for $100, guided by their instinct and their mother's extensive collection of English Staffordshire figurines.
My gut told me that this was genuine and probably early 19th century.
The expert confirms that it is indeed Staffordshire and from the early 19th century, noting the material as pearl-glazed earthenware, a type known as pearlware. The candlestick's charm lies in its personality and somewhat garish painting, typical of pieces painted by young women, youngsters, or even children in a naive style during that era. The expert identifies it as a beautiful, silver-shaped candlestick, a type commonly made in Staffordshire at the time. The estimated value of the candlestick is at...
Priced between $1,000 and $1,500.
Okay.
No, you're welcome. I mean, it's a great thing.
My goodness.
Today's item resembles a bowl used to make sacrifices to the gods in ancient times, but realistically, it was used at Hawaiian festivals for eating.
It was used to spin cats in, kittens, by my son. We also used to spin in it when we were little kids, I myself.
The item is called a kupoi bowl, and it was created in the early 19th century. The most exciting part of this bowl is not the shape or the size, but the wood from which it was made, which is called ku wood, and is a special type of wood used to make bowls in the 19th century.
Which almost went extinct in the middle of the 19th century. It has come back, but not in the sizes that would enable you to make these wonderful bowls today.
This bowl is a piece of Hawaiian history, and it would retail at auction at
$18,000 and $20,000 at this moment. And I think that's conservative. It's lovely.
Thank you.
It's a great bowl.
Thank you.
Found on the floor of the attic in a new home purchased by this guest's parents, this piece was acquired along with the house for only $2.
And in the attic, this painting was laying on the floor. So my mother asked them, well, can I buy this painting with the house, because they were going to purchase the house.
It is an oil on canvas painting with a gilded frame. This is a Minnesota folk art painting depicting a beautiful landscape with a waterfall. Although naive in the depiction of the houses and the hills,
it's a very naive interpretation. The houses look a little bit out of kilter as far as perspective.
The brushwork and style indicate a very skilled painter. Following a light restoration, this piece should be as good as new and should be valued at...
that its retail value would be probably $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh my stars, well...
The guest inherited an art piece from her cousin, who served in the Women's Army Corps during World War II. The item was purchased by her cousin in Paris during the 1940s. The piece was identified as a color lithograph by Theophile Steinlen, a famous poster artist. The appraiser provided background about the artist, who was known for his posters and illustrations, especially of cats. The particular lithograph, created in 1909, is part of a series and depicts a summer cat.
And it's actually a companion piece to another cat, which is an inside cat known as the winter cat. You have the summer cat.
The remarkable piece was signed by Steinlen and bears the publisher Sago's blind stamp.
That's the publisher of this print.
While the lithograph was in good condition, It had some minor humidity marks. Given the condition and desirability, the value suggested was...
I would say it's around $10,000 to $12,000. So you're at the top end of the silent.
I'm stunned.
The 19th century poster was brought to the show by the guest, who acquired it from his uncle, who always hung it in a chicken house.
So to have something like this come out of a chicken house is pretty impressive.
This is a Lusitania and Mauritania poster.
The Lusitania and the Mauritania were owned by the Cunard Line, which was a British-based company, and so this poster would have been printed in England.
The Lusitania is a famous ship in the lore of all great ocean liners and was sunk in 1915.
Do you know what the second most famous ocean liner is as far as memorabilia goes?
I hope Lusitania.
You know what? It's the Lusitania.
Popularly known as the sister ships, the Lusitania and the Mauritania were both launched in 1907. It's noticed in this poster that the ship doesn't have a name on its bow, and that's because the poster was probably finished before the launching of the ships. Although just from its profile, a ship enthusiast should be able to recognize the type of ship it is. The poster is seen to be missing the name Cunard Line. Despite this, it's still rare and doesn't diminish its value. Such a rare poster, a memorabilia of the second most famous ocean liner, with detailed text giving information about the ships, will have a high worth of...
Conservatively, at auction, I would estimate this piece between $12,000 and $18,000.
Wow.
It looks like a normal book, but it's worth more than you think, because it holds the experiences of a prison guard during the Civil War.
He mentions in the diary about Lincoln being assassinated and Lincoln dying the next day. He is a guard at the prison camp where they had the conspirators detained.
But it's not just any prison guard. The owner of the item was one of the prison guards at the prison where Abraham Lincoln's 4 conspirators were detained. The diary offers insight into the life of a prison guard during the Civil War.
Is mentioned on the assassination, where he is actually at a different camp. He just hears about the Lincoln assassination.
The experiences might not seem as significant as those of the World Wars, but they nevertheless were important parts of American history. Given its patriotic insights, this diary today would be worth the auction value of...
At auction, a conservative estimate would be around $3,000 to $4,000.
Wow, that's quite a bit.
The guest shared a story of acquiring the pistol from his father, who was a gun collector.
I've just always admired it, and when he passed away, this is the gun that I got out of his collection, and I just love it.
It was purchased at a gun show in Ohio around 1960 for $350. The appraiser identified the pistol as a North African pistol, likely from the second half of the 18th century. Its distinctive feature was its decoration composed of red corals with silver inlay. Additionally, a bit of gold work was depicted on the lock. The appraiser also noted Arabic script on the barrel tang, possibly indicating the maker's name or a date. Despite some restoration and polishing, its overall condition was deemed very nice. They discussed the pistol's historical context, linking it to wealthy North Africans in the 18th century. Taking into account the desirability, the pistol was appraised at...
I estimate that in today's market, this pistol would bring probably about $5,000 to $7,000 in today's
That's
collector's
good. I can do that. I can do that, yeah.
It's not every day you see a painter create a masterpiece such as this. But this is not a painting. It is a sculpture created by Jean-Léon Gérôme. The sculpture was crafted in 1897.
The piece that you have is from the year 1900, and it depicts the triumphant entry of Napoleon.
And it signifies an important part of French history when Napoleon Bonaparte conquered Cairo and became a key figure there before he was defeated.
It has these wonderful sharp details on the scabbards for the guns, on the horses dressing here too.
This sculpture was crafted from bronze, which adds to its shine, and it was made with superior attention to detail. Napoleon was an important figure in history, and a sculpture depicting him would be worth...
Because a piece like this at auction would probably bring between $15,000 and $20,000 now.
That's a lot of money even now.
That's right.
Guest brought along 2 of his Fender Telecaster guitars. He purchased both of them for a total of $300.
I bought this in 1964 from a local music store.
Do you remember how much you paid for it?
$250.
Along with a photograph of his band and the Beatles. The first guitar was bought by the guest to fit the uniform his group wore. It is a mahogany-bodied Telecaster dated back to 1964. The body and the finish, along with the fact that the original case is with it, make it very rare. The second guitar is a custom-made Telecaster. It was made in the second year of mass production of these Telecaster guitars in 1960. It shows signs of wear that guitar players don't actually mind, called honest wear.
And it's the kind of wear that guitar players don't really mind. It has what we call honest wear.
Presented in excellent shape, this collection of guitars and the photograph is worth...
Would probably go for at least $30,000, maybe as much as $35,000.
Wow.
A literal work of art that resonates with a ballet dancer in motion, the artistry of this painting can be attributed to Alexander Archipenko. Archipenko was a Ukrainian-American avant-garde artist.
And it's a work executed in gouache, pastel, and pencil on paper.
Typical of Archipenko's paintings, this work reflects Cubist principles with fragmented forms and abstract representations. There's an emphasis on abstraction with the deconstruction of the human figure into simplified, stylized forms. The painting is also signed by Archipenko to signal its authenticity. This painting highlights Archipenko's innovative approach to blending traditional and modernist techniques and would be worth...
I think it's worth in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $40,000.
Okay. Okay. So that's where all cowboys go.
On the surface of this piece, brushstrokes dance and colors come alive. This oil-on-canvas painting was showcased by the guest and was created by William Herbert Dunton. Dunton was an American artist and a founding member of the Taos Society of Artists. The painting bears the artist's signature at the bottom right corner. Illustrated in the painting are cowboys riding horses. This painting was executed in shades of gray, black, and white. The painting exemplifies Western heritage and spirit. Due to its exceptional quality and excellent condition, this painting's valued at
$5,000 and $7,000. So that's where all cowboys go.
Really? Yeah, wow. It's really a special object. Oh, that's simple. Well, I really appreciate it.
This ancient Egyptian artifact holds a special place in the heart of its owner, who inherited it from a beloved uncle. This artifact, dating back to the late period between 664 BC and 304 BC, is not just an image of a bird. It was sacred to the god Horus. Originally, it contained a falcon mummy, as indicated by remnants found inside the hollow cast artifact. The exquisite craftsmanship is evident in the intricate details of the feathers and
eye markings for the falcon. It's absolutely exquisite.
Despite a break caused by playful sons in 1962, the artifact remains a remarkable piece of history. At an auction, it could be estimated to fetch at
$12,000 to $18,000, and I would probably expect that it would sell for more. Really? Yeah. Wow. It's really a special object. Oh, that's simple. Well, I really...
This guest has presented us with a wonderful archive. He inherited this archive from his great-aunt and great-uncle, who made cigars.
And they would come to Cuba, they visited twice, and they stayed with them. And he would send Christmas cards, and they would send cigars and brandy.
This archive is a collection of signed autographs and manuscripts of the great British icon and leader, Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill. Winston Churchill was a British statesman, soldier, and writer who served twice as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He remains one of the most important figures of the 20th century and played a crucial role in defending liberal democracy against the spread of fascism. This collection includes letters sent from Churchill's secretary personally to his favorite cigar makers.
Mr. Churchill was here when the stack of parcels were brought in, so we had to open them all under his eyes. He patted and purred with pleasure over them.
And other photos signed personally to them. This collection, featuring one of the greatest prime ministers of the UK, is overwhelming to say the least, and at auction, it will be worth at least...
For insurance purposes, at $12,000.
Wow, thank you.
This guest purchased this piece of art in France.
I brought this bronze panther. I bought it in Paris in 1967.
How much did you pay for it?
About $20 or whatever the equivalent in
francs at the time.
That's correct.
It has a bronze sculpture created by George Lavrov. George Lavrov was a Russian artist and sculptor widely known for his bronze Art Deco animal sculptures. This piece is a classic example of his brilliance, bearing his signature on the foot of the animal. Dated back to 1930, during his time creating art sculptures in France, this sculpture is presented in excellent condition. This brilliant bronze sculpture of great quality has an estimated value of...
I would put an auction estimate of $5,000 to $7,000 on it. So
Nice.
This is a piece of family heirloom dating back to the 18th century. This guest inherited this piece of furniture from her mother.
My mom had it, my mom's family had it.
Right.
All I know is they came into Portsmouth.
Portsmouth,
New Hampshire. Sister has one that my mom's sister had as well, which is similar to this one.
A similar desk, okay.
Yeah.
It is a Chippendale slant front desk crafted by Thomas Chippendale. Chippendale was a cabinet maker in London, designing furniture in the mid-Georgian, English Rococo, and neoclassical styles. This particular desk has several features that make it particularly unique.
So there we are. So we take this out. There would have been 3 little drawers back there. Now there's 1 left. Isn't that cool?
Nothing
no
in
money,
it, but
nothing to split.
how cool is that?
It is made from poplar wood and shows signs of oxidation, confirming its ancient production age.
This is the 1780 poplar that's so green. Do you see how green that is?
Yes, it's still very green.
Though some replacements have been made to this desk, it is still in good condition and is worth...
And the value at auction would be $2,000 to $3,000 in this market. That would be the estimate on it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Everyone would love to have a picture with their idol or a celebrity, but not everyone gets such a chance in their lifetime.
And when they came to Montgomery, he placed a call and said, bring my dad down to the hotel, we're going to take some photographs, and I'll get some signature.
However, this guest father wasn't one of those people, as he was lucky enough to get a picture with the baseball legend Babe Ruth. Ruth, considered by many to be the greatest baseball player of all time, was an American professional baseball player whose career spanned 22 seasons. The pictures were taken in 1947 when Ruth was promoting youth baseball and are also duly signed by the baseball legend. These pictures also promote the less-known narrative of Ruth's love for children.
What a lot of people don't always remember is that he loved children. He was sent to St. Mary's Industrial School.
Signed pictures of one of baseball's legends are always highly valued and would be worth...
The value I would put is $5,000 a piece for these photos.
Oh, that's amazing.
One of the first things anyone would notice about this item is its big size. This is a family heirloom, which the guest has always known to be a bronze incense burner.
And I can understand why you thought incense burner, because it's got the spout right here, and I guess you were thinking the smoke would come out of the spout?
This item is a 19th century Himalayan bronze ewer. Despite its large size, the piece is very light in weight. It is composed of 2 sheets of metal, bronze with very high copper content. This combination of metal allows for an exterior design called a repoussé decoration. It also features semi-precious stones, in this case turquoise. Having thin metal and strong sides, this ewer can hold liquid such as a fermented beverage of some sort. Conservatively, at auction, this bronze ewer adorned with vine flower designs and semi-precious stones would be worth
$5,000 to $8,000 at auction.
Oh, wow.
Well, you probably scare my daughter to death. She keeps it in her living room.
This colorful and historic gaming wheel has a fascinating story behind it, hailing from the early days of Tulsa, then known as Tulsytown, in the late 19th century. Originally used in a gambling hall operated by the guest's uncle, a professional gambler, the wheel was a part of a bustling establishment that included a cigar stand, a barber shop,
a billiard parlor, and upstairs he had a gambling hall.
The uncle discovered an additional source of income by lending money to gamblers and accepting their valuable items, such as rings and diamonds, as collateral. Legend has it that he would sometimes win back the loaned money upstairs while still holding on to the gambler's diamond. Manufactured by Will and Fink in San Francisco, known for their gaming equipment, the wheel's vivid colors and untouched patina make it a rare and valuable piece of gaming history. This iconic piece is estimated to be worth a jaw-dropping price of
$4,000. Is that right? Yeah. Well, you probably scare my daughter to death. She keeps it in her living room.
Pottery isn't just for display. It reflects the culture, beliefs, and traditions of the people who create it. The guest had a pottery piece by Peter Volkos, which they got from their parents. Their dad, who ran the Otis Art Institute, hired Volkos as a ceramics teacher. The appraiser asked when the piece was made, and the guest said it was around 1956. They said Volkos worked in many places, making pottery and teaching. The appraiser said this piece was different from Volkos' usual style, which was big and strong. The guest met Volkos once, but didn't remember him well. The appraiser described Volkos as a big, strong guy who made pottery in a tough way. This piece was more delicate and had a flowery design. The appraiser noticed some small damage, like chipping, but said it was not a big deal. They showed a signature on the bottom without a date, meaning it was probably made in the 1950s. While giving a reasonable price for the pot, the appraiser said,
"And so something like this, I would put at auction a very reasonable value of $2,500 to $3,500.
John would be pleased.
Yes, he would, wouldn't he?
This pocket-sized edition of King Lear, illustrated by Eric Gill, holds a special place as it once belonged to the legendary John Barrymore of the renowned Barrymore acting dynasty. Annotated by Barrymore himself, the book provides insight into his preparation and interpretation of the role, despite never having the opportunity to perform it, which was his life's ambition. Published around 1935, just 7 years before his death in 1942, the book showcases Barrymore's meticulous approach to Shakespearean roles with diagrams and...
Nearly all the Shakespeare tragedies are much too long, so anybody directing or acting has to cut down things, and this is standard procedure.
The book is a treasured part of a larger collection of Barrymore memorabilia cherished by its owner for the glimpse it provides into Barrymore's mind and craft. This fascinating piece of theatrical history is valued at approximately
about $3,000.
Oh my. John would be pleased.
Yes, he would, wouldn't he?
The guest brought a salt box made by her great-great-grandfather, Samuel L. Plank. The piece was considered Pennsylvania folk art, exhibiting decoration of birds and flowers. Although Plank typically signed his salt boxes, this one wasn't signed. The artist made boxes until his 1900 death, suggesting the particular piece dated to 1880. The salt box had porcelain knobs, indicating it was likely an early piece. Another distinctive feature was the narrow standard of its lollipop top, distinguishing it from later, sturdier models. The appraiser considered it one of the best examples of Plank's work. Considering the desirability among collectors, the value suggested was
of $20,000 to $30,000.
Really? That's fabulous.
The woman brought to the show a circa 1903 First State Renoir etching which she had gotten from her mother. Pierre-Auguste Renoir was a French artist who was a leading painter in developing the Impressionist style. As a celebrator of beauty and especially feminine sensuality, this etching is the earliest printing of a picture of his son, Claude Renoir. It was made with regular oil paint applied on canvas, then using a palette knife to scrape away layers and create texture in the canvas. As an etching that was developed by a leading painter in the development of the Impressionist style, this item is estimated to be valuable.
It would probably sell for around $3,000. I would estimate the cleaning on this to be between $300 and $500. It's very close to being a $4,000 to $6,000 print.
Wow.
Our guest inherited a Patek Philippe watch and intends to pass it on to his son, James. He previously sold another Patek Philippe watch in the 1980s to fund his children's education.
I sold it in the 80s, and it wasn't 2 months later that it was worth $90,000.
The appraiser explains the rising and fluctuating value of these watches due to emerging wealth in other countries. This particular watch is notable for its engine and additional features. It is a split-second chronometer, a rare and desirable feature. The watch allows for split timing by pressing a button, useful for precise time measurements. It also includes a minute repeater, chiming to the minute. The watch has personal engravings and intricate enameling of initials. Attached to the watch is a typical fob with a pocket knife, a Mason symbol, and a coin. The appraiser values this amazing and rare watch.
in the marketplace today, at least at auction, I see this watch for $40,000 to $60,000.
Wow.
And that's
a lot.
That's a lot. I may only pay 1 year of college today, but
they're all educated, fortunately, right now.
The guest showcased an unusual historic time clock.
This is one of the earliest time clocks we know of.
It belonged to her father, who received it as a gift from a client in the early 70s. The appraiser examined the clock, noting its excellent condition and rarity. The clock's mechanism operated by employees punching in their number.
If the employee number is 158, he would come in the morning and punch it in. The time that was done, the time of day as well as the type of work was typed right onto a reel inside.
This particular clock was invented by Alexander Day with his brother John in New York. They founded the Day Time Register, Inc., which eventually merged with the International Time Recording Company. They discussed the clock's industrial design significance despite its lack of artistic appeal. The guest assured the appraiser he would keep the clock instead of selling it.
However, I think that a collector who would seek out a piece like this might very well pay $1,500 to $2,000 for this.
Well, thank you so much.
This cherished antique furniture holds generations of history. Passed down through the years, it finally found its way to this guest. Dating back to around 1860, this oak table hails from the era of King of England, Scotland, and Ireland, Charles II. Remarkably preserved with original wooden pegs and pull, its authenticity and craftsmanship are undeniable. Its significance brings immense satisfaction to its owner and lovers of antique furniture. The estimated value of this 17th century work of art at auction today would be
around about $1,000. Thank you for bringing it in.
Thank you so much.
This treasured painting, a gift to the guest's parents, has a rich history tied to its artist. The artist who found refuge and inspiration in the guest's parents' home is Maynard Dixon. Dixon was renowned as an important Western illustrator and landscape painter.
Fresno in 1875 and studied here in San Francisco at the Mark Hopkins Institute.
Encouraged by the famed artist Frederick Remington, Dixon pursued an artistic career, becoming a prolific illustrator. This painting exemplifies Dixon's beautiful brushwork, simplicity, and geometric designs in the landscapes.
Built up the paint, beautiful colors, and he also used very almost flat geometric designs in his mountainscapes and landscapes, and you can see that through here.
Signed and inscribed Carson, Nevada, October 1919, this painting showcases Dixon's distinctive style and his attention to detail. This exquisite piece, with beautiful brushwork and geometric designs, at auction would be worth
for $8,000 to $12,000. So that's a good. It's as a wedding gift to your parents, it certainly has.
Very nice.
Our guest brought in two very old wooden dolls. The dolls were found in the Thumb of Michigan near Lexington or Sandusky. Our guest has been collecting since childhood, and
she said they're very, very old. Maybe you could look at them. And when she came in, I really just wanted this one. But I ended up with both of them. I understand she inherited them.
The appraiser focuses on the larger doll, unable to authenticate the smaller one on the spot. The large doll dates back to the early 1700s and was typically owned by wealthy children or royalty. The doll is made of wood and painted with common signs of aging such as crazing and
pieces of paint that will flake off. When you have a piece that is this early, you can expect that there's going to be damage.
Distinct features include black pupil-less eyes and dotting on the eyebrows. The doll has an all-wood body except for cloth upper arms. Her clothing is melting, a sign of metal-weighted silk fabric, and may not be original. She has a human hair wig, which could also be flax hair, typical of the period. Few dolls from this era have survived and are usually found in museums. In a retail setting, this Queen Anne period doll is valued at
She probably would be valued in the range of $15,000 to $20,000.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my.
The guest had brought a lamp which had been acquired by her mother in the late 60s.
My mother found this in the late 60s. There was a little neighborhood.
This beautiful piece was purchased from a neighborhood sale for $125. The lamp was made by Tiffany Studios, owned and operated by Louis Comfort Tiffany. The item, likely dating back to 1905, featured a rose helmet shade and an arc and leaf base with stylized leaf forms.
You will see these wonderful stylized leaf forms that follow all around the edge and then are repeated in a slightly different style moving up towards the top of the base.
The appraiser praised the lamp's rarity and Art Nouveau quality. They pointed out the gold leading under the shade matching the base and highlighted the exceptional craftsmanship. The lamp was considered a luxury item commonly seen in the homes of New York's elite during the early 20th century. Considering the exquisite craftsmanship and condition, the value was determined.
This lamp is worth between $80,000 and $125,000. Mom had a good eye.
The guest presented a lamp from her husband's family, originally belonging to his grandparents. She also brought a photograph showing the lamp in the background of their grandparents' house. The appraiser examined the lamp, noting its leaded glass shade in the style of Tiffany. The mark on the base indicated it was made by Duffner & Kimberly, a New York company. They produced lamps from 1905 until they went bankrupt in 1911. This particular lamp featured a gilt bronze base with a neoclassical style and a potential spiderweb tail.
Some beautiful color palette. The lamp lights up very nicely.
The appraiser compared the quality of Duffner & Kimberly's work to that of Tiffany. Additionally, it was suggested to clean the lamp to enhance its appearance. Given the rising market demand for this brand, the appraiser estimated its value at...
I would put an auction estimate on this of $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow. Delicate glass vase was exhibited on the show by a guest. The vase has some interesting qualities. It was made from Lotz glass, and the design pattern on it is called Titania. It has very smooth cranberry shading. The vase boasts a silver overlay which goes all the way around it. It was made circa 1890 to 1920, and it's in very good condition. Typical of the era it was made in, the vase features sinuous lines, organic shape, and a sense of dynamic energy. The glass vase exudes elegance and sophistication, placing its value at auction.
You'd be happy to know that it's worth about $3,000 to $4,000 on today's market? Yes, I would.
The guest recounted the story of his grandparents' honeymoon trip in 1912. They were aboard the Carpathia when it went to rescue the Titanic passengers. This made them eyewitnesses to the Carpathia's efforts in picking up the survivors. The ancestors kept a detailed diary and took numerous photographs during the rescue operation.
You got the eyewitness photographs, you got the eyewitness diaries, then you have the letters that were written to your relatives from the survivors who stayed in their cabins.
The appraiser noted a photograph showing the iceberg involved in the Titanic disaster. The guest also possessed letters written to their relatives from survivors who stayed in their cabins. The most unique item in their possession was a hardtack biscuit from a Titanic lifeboat. The appraiser acknowledged these items, especially the original photographs, which have been widely published. Considering the historical significance, the suggested potential worth was...
And whether the market is going to continue like it has been, $50,000, $75,000 for all of this stuff, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay. Very good.
The guest presented a suit worn by Olivia de Havilland in the movie Princess O'Rourke.
The suit is an Olivia de Havilland suit. She wore it in the movie Princess O'Rourke.
She acquired it from a friend of her husband's for $50, along with a lobby card and photos. The appraiser praised the suit's provenance, highlighting a photograph of Olivia de Havilland wearing it. Inside the suit, a label from Warner Brothers Studios bore a number attributed to the movie. Regarding the condition, the suit had some moth damage. However, the appraiser advised against restoration to preserve its historical significance. Additionally, he suggested storing it in acid-free tissue in a stable environment. The beautiful 1940 suit, given its provenance, could potentially fetch...
Insurance value would be around $1,500 for the suit.
Oh my gosh.
This guest's mother acquired this vase from a neighbor in Iowa.
My mother got this from a neighbor in Burlington, Iowa. This was back in the 60s. And she told my mom at the time that it was Tiffany, and it had a paper label on the bottom of it.
Originally thought to be a Tiffany vase, this vase is actually a Lotz vase. This series of outstanding Art Nouveau vases was created by the Austrian company Johann Lotz, founded in the Bohemian forest by Johann Lotz. This piece is a great example of Lotz's work. Underneath the vase is a smooth ground pontil, which is typical of Lotz vases.
And there's usually a big piece of glass that has to be taken off in order for the piece to stand properly. Lotz always did this wonderful smooth ground pontil on the bottom of the piece.
The design on the vase is an exquisite butterfly wing style. Although bearing no signatures, this production of the vase is dated to around the 1900s and is valued at...
I would probably put a value of $3,000 to $4,000 on this piece.
Oh my goodness, that's fabulous.